Christina, welcome to the Tales of Leadership podcast. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on your show. I
Yeah,
like your intro music. It's good.
I, I always do that intro music just to kind of get like focused and zoned in. I always call it getting
Yeah.
switched on, just in the right mindset.
Yes, it's great.
Yeah, so honor and a privilege to have you on, and I'm really
Thank
interested
you.
to jump into your story because you have a very interesting and inspiring story. But before we even start, we'll just take the time if you could quickly introduce yourself to anyone who's listening.
My name is Christina Flach. I am a celebrity makeup artist. I am the creator and CEO of Pretty Girl Makeup. I am beauty expert on California Live on NBC. I'm a mother of 5. I'm a philanthropist. And I think that is all my titles.
You have so many awesome different backgrounds, especially working with a lot of amazing people. And all of this was
Yes.
kind of just like self-starting. I think you started your journey in like 1995, officially
Yes. A
created your
long time
company.
ago.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So
Yes. A long
before
time
we
ago.
start, I would
Yes.
love to hear your definition of how you define leadership in your own terms.
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I think leadership is something that is obviously leading people to be the best versions of themselves, but also helping people for them, like guiding them and letting them be the best versions of them. So I think like when you have a team that works for and with you, that you want to give them the freedom to do things that, obviously, like, for example, I hire someone to do social media for me. I'm not going to sit and micromanage them. I think it's super important to let people do their jobs and give them the freedom and the confidence to do what they do best and focus on what I do best, which is, for example, not social media.
You and I share that.
Right?
I absolutely despise social media, but I understand that I have to do it. But I
We,
agree with you 100%.
yes, yes. So I
There's
think
a
it's about inspiring. I think leadership is for us to inspire others.
That's exactly how I sum it up, and it's one word, and it's to inspire other people. And
Mm-hmm.
and I love that nugget that you've already dropped. In the military, we call it mission command, but it's giving
Mm-hmm.
someone a clear task and a purpose with an end state of what they need to do, and allowing them to get to that end state, and not micromanaging. And that's really
Exactly.
hard, I think, as a leader to do. So that's amazing definition.
I think, giving control, controlling people. It's so funny. People think they have so much control of their lives. They really don't. We
Yeah.
don't really have a lot of control. The universe has their own deal. And I think it's when people try to control everything, they really lose control. So I think, a control is a word that people need to be very careful with because I think it is misused.
There's a saying that we always have in the military is that the enemy gets a vote or Murphy will strike. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And
Right.
every plan is great until you actually start, and then everything falls apart. And that has been
Right.
my MO in life. I start something
Mm-hmm.
and it goes completely off of what it was supposed to do. And then I
Well,
figure out a way.
yeah, it's interesting. I read a book called We Plan and God Laughs.
Mm,
And it's kind of that, like, we may have this idea in our head of a plan, but the universe and God have another plan. And sometimes I think, you know, I don't believe in failures. I feel that they're lessons. And so I think that, if we think we're going down this path and we're so sure that it's to the right, the universe might think it's to the left. And I think it's just being
mm.
open to the possibilities of other options. I did never expected to be a beauty expert on television because I'm so accustomed to being behind the camera, not in front of it. And so it was, that opportunity was put in front of me, and it worked out. It's given me confidence because in an area of life that I never expected to be journeying down, but it's been a great thing. So I think that, being open to different possibilities of things that life has in store for us. I think that's a much better way to live life.
I
Because you
always
don't
go,
know you love doing something until, I was telling my daughter this the other day. I said, you didn't know you love strawberry ice cream till you had strawberry ice cream, right?
I love
So,
that.
I think, you don't know until you try. So I think it's super important to be open to things.
There's a proverb that I always kind of go back to, and it's that you can make your own plans, but the Lord basically determines your steps. And all
A
that
hundred
means is
percent.
you have to be open to where life will take you, and the opportunities, I think, is a critical piece there that you're saying too, is that life is going to give you opportunities. Unless you're willing to actually go do and take action, you'll never get them again.
It's true. And it's just, I think that being open to things, you just
Mm.
don't realize there's so many different possibilities out there. And to think, so many people are afraid of failure. And to me, the only failures in life are not, I don't like saying trying, because I've omitted that word from my vocabulary, because I think it gives you wiggle room to say, oh, well, I tried, didn't work out. So I think if you set a goal and go forward with that goal, it will happen. But when we say, oh, well, I tried, and then it doesn't, well, that's because there was that wiggle room of not really doing it. I think when you really decide you want to do something and focus on it, it will happen.
Yeah, no, I 100% wholeheartedly agree with you. I failure, and I always try to talk to my kids about this. Failure is a negative mindset, and when you use the word
Hmm.
failure, you're admitting to yourself that you have now quit. And quitting is
Hmm.
the true failure. As long as we
Oh,
continue to
100%.
do and pivot and learn from our problems and begin to grow incrementally upon that, we're always becoming better and better, a better version of ourselves.
Definitely. I completely agree with you. Yes.
So I would love to hear kind of, where did your journey start?
Where did it start? Well, when I was a young girl, I just started working on my friends and family, and particularly my mother. She had been diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer, and she was going out with
Mm,
my dad one night. And I just said, oh, let me do your makeup for you. And she had very few makeup products, and I had very few skills at the time, but I managed to make her look and feel like her old self. And it
mm,
really stuck with me. And it still does to this day when I work with my clients. How I make them feel is super important, because they're getting in front of a camera, and I need to make sure that they look fantastic, but that they're also in a good state of mind, so that the camera doesn't lie. So if you're sad or in a bad mood or you have a headache or something, the camera notices that. So a lot of my job is making sure my clients feel as good on the outside as they look good on the inside as they do on the outside. And so that stuck with me. And so I started just working on different people, and I worked with photographers, and then I was very blessed to get agents that represent me. And I started working on different celebrities, and I have 3 agents now. And then I created my line, Pretty Girl. I'm working on a new line called I'm Too Busy, and a new TV show called I'm Too Busy. I trademarked I'm Too Busy with the skincare and makeup. So I'm looking for investors right now to, because my American Express card can only go up so much. So that's can only take so much.
yeah.
So that's what I'm working on right now.
When you started Pretty Girl Makeup, I think it was in 1999 when you founded that company.
Uh-huh. Yes.
When you started that, and now to where you're at now, what was the growth or the process in that business? So I'm assuming when you first started, you were doing most of the work yourself, and then you had to like slowly bring and hire people on. Walk me through that, of the hiring process and growing your business.
Well, it's, you start doing it all yourself, and then you realize,
Yeah.
I'm wasting so much time doing things that I'm not, well equipped to handle. So you need to find someone that can do social media, marketing, sales and everything. And so, eh, going through the process of hiring people is a challenge in itself,
Yeah.
because you think everyone has your work ethic and your drive and your focus, and they don't. And they don't have it's my company, and I will work 7 days a week and as many hours in a day as I have to do. And not everyone has that. So I remember at the beginning hiring people that, talked a good show, but they couldn't execute. So then I ended up working harder again. So it was a lot of hiring the wrong people. And so I think it's really
Mm,
important to take the time to not just hire the first person that appears. Um, I think it's really important to take the time to get to know the person, see how long that they've been doing what they're doing. Do they love it? Are they, what is their work ethic like? How long have they been at previous jobs? And I always ask people, so what did you learn from that last job that you had? What did you learn? And if, whenever I get an answer of that, it was everyone else's fault, any problems, I know right then that we're not going to be a good fit. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong or if I don't know how to do something. And if I have people that are constantly pointing fingers and blaming, it's not even worth having them on my team.
I 100% wholeheartedly agree. And I think in the military, we always have this concept of being a problem-solving organization. And we go back to what you talked about before of empowering your team down at the lowest level. What that means is that when you give someone a task and a purpose within their scope or their sphere of influence in the business, you have to believe that they're going to make the right decisions in the best interest of the organization. And culturally, that's one of the hardest things to do, is to hire based on a culture of everyone working tandem together towards a shared vision. That is really, really hard to do. And I love the concept of what you just shared of really, it's tactical patience. Don't hire the first person who comes and says all the right things, because maybe their words aren't aligned with their deeds, but practice some tactical patience and find the right person that fits culturally.
That's true. And I also think it's important, like with, when you're hiring, let's just using social media as an example, I will send images because I am still a working makeup artist and I have, a lot of clients and I do a lot of photo shoots. Like I will send them to Avery, who is in charge of my social media. And I just let her run with it and I have an open door. If someone has an idea, I want people to be able to feel comfortable and confident enough to come to me and tell me an idea they have. And I'm more than happy to give people credit and try different people's ideas. So I think that's really important as well, to be open to listening. Listening is sometimes a challenge for some people. They are not willing or able to listen. And I think that's a skill. I think maybe being a mother and a makeup artist all these years, I listen to a lot of people. For example, I have clients that you really have to listen to your clients, because especially some of my celebrities, they have a certain look that they're comfortable with. And I can't go and, even though technically it may be right what I'm going to do to make their makeup look different, if they're not comfortable with it, it'll distract them when they're in front of a camera. So it's super important that I listen to my clients, and it doesn't matter what I think. It matters how they feel. And if they don't feel comfortable in front of the camera looking the way I've done their makeup, I'll never get hired again. So I know that one of my skills is that I really listen to my clients and make them feel like when they get in front of the camera that they're feeling confident and happy, whether it be men or women.
I really think that kind of sums into like building trust. And trust is so hard to build with people. And I think it comes through frequency and crucibles events. Going through shared hardship, you can build trust, or being with someone over a long period of time. And exactly what you just said, another amazing nugget of just listening to people, and listening without an agenda, if that makes sense. Just listening to what is the problems that you're having today, and how can I serve you to make it better?
Right. I think when people, sometimes you don't need to react and you don't need to comment. Sometimes when people come to you and they have an idea or want to share something, it's like, okay, I'm going to listen. I will, like, for example, with my makeup clients, especially the women, if I might give them an idea of how I think they might look better, but if they're not willing to do it at that moment, I just am like, okay, I'll do what you want. So I've had Tyler Florence as a celebrity chef, and he's been my client for 16 years now.
That's awesome.
And yeah. And so yesterday we were shooting a dish commercial for Food Network for his TV show, The Great Food Truck Race, and then for Dish. And then we did a Wells Fargo commercial. But I think the reason why he and I are really compatible is that I know I can read his mood. I can read all my clients' moods. So if he's wants to chat, we chat. If he wants to laugh, we laugh. If he wants some quiet and just focus, I just let him be. And I don't I don't, it's about
Mm.
him. It's not about me. And so I think it's really important if you can learn that in any job. Read the room, read the people around you, see what they, what do they need? What do they need you to do? And be okay with it. It doesn't, I don't always have to have my way. I don't have to, it doesn't need to be the way I think it should be. It needs to be what the client wants. And I think if people can learn that, they're going to be much more successful in their career, whatever it is.
I love that. It all comes down to, I think, emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
As you started off in your business and kind of where you are now, has there been a common thread or one of the different essential parts of being an effective leader that you have maintained or that you've grown out of just to where you're at now and the level of success that you're having?
I think of just, being open and listening to different ideas, trying new things, especially in the makeup in the beauty industry. It is
Yeah.
so competitive and is constantly changing. So
Yeah.
just knowing that everything's going to be changing all the time because people don't typically like, I mean, I have listened to so many people saying, I don't like change. I don't like doing that. Well, change is inevitable. It is constant. That is the one thing in life that I can guarantee, there's going to be change and you have to be okay with it and not get so attached. I don't get attached to the things that are changing. They just change and they'll change again. So I just try to, when I get hired for a job for being a makeup artist, I'm very grateful to be there. And I get there on time.
Mm.
I'm always positive. I'll help everyone, whoever's there, the camera guy, the sound guy or whatever. We're all a team and, we need to work together. And I don't, I'm not a pain in the ass. I am super positive and I work really hard and I do a really good job. So I get hired back because I don't have a big ego and I'm not difficult to work with. And I know there are a lot of people that want to know what time we're going to be done. Like, yesterday we were outside and it was 49 degrees and it was free. I mean, that doesn't sound really cold, but it was really cold.
Yeah.
And, it was raining on and off and I'm standing there and I'm like, I just am thinking, every minute feels like an hour, because it's so cold out. And you just have to make the best of it. Tyler and I will make jokes like, oh, here we go. More weird weather,
I'm a weirdo. Wake up really, really early in the morning because I have this morning routine that I follow, and I always go do a cold plunge at least 2 minutes
you're one of those. Okay.
every day.
Good for you.
And the water temperature this morning was, I think it was like 48 degrees. So
Oh.
it was, it was so bad.
You understand my pain. It's so cool. I'm very disciplined as well. And I wake up every morning and whether I'm on a shoot or I'm at home in my office working, I wake up, I dry brush every day. I wake up and have a glass of water with lemon juice or vinegar. I have tea.
Mm.
I make a green juice every day. I bring it on set or I make it or have it at home. So I think that part of, being disciplined is incredibly important. And, self-care is very important. I think and I'm sure that you can attest to this as well, that you're a better version of you. You can give more to your team, your family, everyone involved when you've taken the time to do your cold plunge, that you've had your coffee or your tea and, do the things that make you feel good. It's like you're filling up your tank and then you can share that with other. And I think self-care, I speak about this a lot. Self-care is not selfish. It's actually the most generous thing you can do to everyone around you.
You're speaking to my soul.
Right? Yeah. And I think that, it's also incredible for your kids because my kids see my work ethic. They see that I work really hard. They see that I don't drink very often, I'll have a glass of wine now again, or, I've set an example, which has been more profound than any lecture that I can give. My daughter Rose told me a few years ago, she's like, Mom, your lectures on drugs and alcohol and pretty much everything were lame. And I thought they were award winning, quite frankly. But she said that, the way I treat people, that I'm kind, that I work really hard, that all the different things that I do are more impactful than any lecture that I can give on anything.
There are so many things that I really want to unpack there. And I'll start off with this one. I think that everyone is a leader. And I see
Mhm.
leadership as ubiquitous, regardless of where you fall within life. And because you have to learn to lead yourself first before you lead a
Exactly.
team or a
Mhm.
company, an organization, your family, a community, it doesn't matter. You have to learn to be disciplined. I call it being a rad leader, routine, accountable, and disciplined in your actions. And having strong routines, I think make you selfless, not selfish, because I see it
Exactly.
as a battery. If I
Mhm.
take my 2 hours every morning, I do my workout, I
Mhm.
read. I don't know if you're familiar with the Miracle Morning, but I do the Savers routine every morning.
Oh, I don't. Tell me about that.
Ooh,
What is that?
okay. You got me excited.
Okay.
So, silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing or journaling.
Mhm.
And I try to do that every single morning. I wake up, my silence is through the pain and punishment of the cold plunge. It's really like a form of meditation.
Mhm.
And then I'll do prayer afterwards. I'll go to the gym, I'll work out for an hour and a half, and then I'll come back and I'll read. And then towards the end of the day, I like to journal for
Mhm.
about 30 minutes on stuff that it's passionate about me. But that has served me so well, and it leads into another one of the points that you just said. My kids, my daughter has seen what I've been doing in terms of my routines and how disciplined I am. And now she has started doing those things. She picks up and reads books every single night, and she has
Mhm.
her own journals. She's created DJ's Life, a book series, and she's created like 3 or 4 of these little books. And it's all spurred from just watching me. And it warms my heart.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I think that's really amazing. I do that. I didn't realize what that was called, but I basically do the same things. I do my reading every day. I do my meditation. I work out every day. I go to yoga, or I go to Pilates, or I hike. Play golf. I do something, and the one thing I need to do a little bit better is the journaling. I'm not
Yeah.
as consistent as I should be, but all the other things I do as well. And I think it does make a big difference in life, especially with the kids, that they see those things.
Yeah, I 100%. And I would love to know, out of like your morning routine, if there's one thing that you have no fail to do, or a self-care tip throughout your entire day. What is the one thing that you will never fail to do?
Well, for sure, the first thing in the morning, the water and the lemon
Yeah.
juice, the green juice, the exercise every day. I mean, all the different things. I just think they're just so important to exercise every day. I think
Agreed.
the gratitude, being grateful for the day that I'm given the opportunity to go to work with who I work with, or be able to work from home. I think gratitude's super important.
Mm,
My kids, we have started 2 educational funds at the Northern Light School in Oakland, California, for underprivileged children, and we've raised money for these 2, the Baby Beau and the Ken Flach educational funds. And it's been really great that my kids have all participated. My youngest son is a twin. His twin passed away on Christmas Day 17 years ago, and he he just raised $75,000 playing golf.
mm.
And for the, and every year he's been doing it for like 8 years. And every year he raises more and more money. And I just said, Ben, I'm so proud of you. Like, I can't even believe what you do. And he's like, Mom, I golfed today. Like, I got to meet all these great people. I go, no, you raised $75,000, which means 7 children are going to be able to go to private school for 1 year. That changes families, that changes lives, that changes communities, trickling down to the world. And I'm so proud of that, of my kids, because they don't even realize that it is such a big deal that they do that. And I think it's super important that everyone gives back. I think
Mm.
when you go through hardships and you give back and help, there's always someone worse off than you. So I think it's really a great thing when you're able to give back to other people, because it makes you feel like, if you're in a bad mood, or have had a hardship, and you can help other people, it does make you feel better. So I think that's really important.
I think you're dropping straight fire. And I love this too. Pain, we all go through it. We all experience pain in our lives, whether it's a friend committing suicide, or someone that it doesn't matter, or a husband, like your husband, passing away with sepsis, which I would absolutely love to get into. We all go through pain points, but
Hmm.
how we choose to go beyond that separates, I think, people who have a victim mindset versus a survivor mindset, and you chose pain and manifested it into purpose, which I absolutely love through some of the philanthropical work that you're doing right now. And I would love to know, when you went through those different traumatic events in your life of your son passing away, which I can't even imagine my son passing away. I don't even want to think about that. And then your husband passing away. How did you manifest that pain into purpose?
Because I have other children that it affects. And so they've
Mm,
been affected by, these things that have happened. And so if I lose it, if I'm not keeping it together, it's going to affect them. So I don't want them to suffer any more than they have had to. So I think that's what keeps me going. But it's a choice. Happiness is a choice.
no.
Helping others is a choice. I was on this show a long time ago, and I forget what they were saying, but it went to the effect of, we're talking about post-traumatic shock that, especially you guys in the military deal with all the time. And what she said that I had was traumatic change in me. And so it's how you choose to handle these different situations, whether it be, starting a foundation or, help. I don't know. Everyone has to figure out what it is that works best for them. But education and nutrition are very important to me. And so for me, this was a natural place to put this, difficult times, helping these kids with an education, because I feel that every child should have an incredible education like my children have been blessed with.
That genuinely is amazing. And we kind of go back to the beginning of this episode of what is leadership. It is to inspire. And that, I think that's exactly what you're doing right now. You're inspiring the next generation to go carry that torch and have that manifesto, if you will, of every day's a gift. Don't waste yours. That's kind of like my mantra in
Mm-hmm.
life. Doesn't matter how bad today is. I know what a bad day looks like, and it's not a bad day. So every day is a gift. And I love that mindset. And I love what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I just, it's just kind of the way it is. And I don't really think about it so much. But and believe me, I have days, and I'm sure you do as well, that are challenging and I feel sad or,
Yeah.
It's hard, but I just know that and I think that's why I think the discipline comes in is really helpful of, okay, being consistent with the discipline is really helpful to me, because it's like, okay, I know in the morning I can control making my bed,
Yep.
having my water, the green juice, the tea, that, doing all the things I do. That makes me feel good, which makes sometimes some days are really hard and you have to, okay, I'll go do this one thing, which will lead to the next thing. And then it just gets easier and easier. But some days are kind of prickly. And so but then sometimes, there's some days when I'm just like, okay, that's it. I just need to go to sleep and tomorrow will be a better day. So, everything seems worse when you're tired too. I think
100%.
also, like, if I don't work out, if I don't eat well, if I don't think of things I'm grateful for and I'm hungry, the world seems like it's going to end. It's the end. It's the end of the world.
You should talk to my wife. She's like, I turned into a diva. If I can't work out or eat what I want and get the sleep that I need, I am a totally different person.
You're a nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, I get it.
I love that.
I think you and I think we were siblings in a former life, because
Yeah, we have so much similarities.
I know.
Hilarious.
Oh my God, your wife would hate me. She'd be like, you two are too much alike.
That's hilarious.
Like, oh, they're like, how is that a female version of you? Oh my God.
I would love, I genuinely believe what you just said. Gaining momentum in life is one of the hardest things to do, but it's so easy to do at the same time. It's controlling with what is in our sphere of influence. And there was a famous speech. I can't remember who this was. It was a Navy SEAL, an admiral, who gave kind of a commencement speech.
Oh my God. That is my favorite thing ever. That speech,
I can't think of his name.
What I'm talking about. It's the thing of, like, your first thing, waking up in the morning, making your bed, doing all these things. That is I was going to quote that like 5 minutes ago. I love that. I love that guy. Because it's everything. It's everything. No, I tell my kids, like my bed is always made. I'm, we don't even realize what visual people we are, like having the bed, like I work out of my home if I'm not on a shoot. I have to have my house clean and organized. I have hives. I can't focus on anything if I see clutter or the bed's unmade or there's dishes in the sink. I can't bear it.
I am the same way. I am a visual person, and when there's clutter, it stresses me out to the point of where I can't think. I'm thinking about that and
I know.
picturing that.
I totally get it.
And it's all about the little things. You continue to knock those little targets down, those little 50-meter targets. It's a win after a win after a win
Hmm.
after a win after a win, and you just gain momentum. And I think
Hmm.
that's genuinely how we win at life. It's not knocking down those 300-meter targets or the huge elephants in the room. It's the best way that I always think about this is the metaphor is that you have a jar. There's like my teacup right now. And
Hmm.
I could try to fit an orange in that teacup. The one big goal that I'm trying to accomplish or the one big thing that I need to do, it's not going to fit. But I could take the equal amount of Skittles, same weight. Each one of those Skittles is a sub step or task that I have to do to complete that big task. And I keep dropping one in at a time. And
Hmm.
eventually I've taken down that big goal. And that's really
Yeah.
how I kind of think through that.
No, I completely agree. I think it's all those good things. And I think it's great that people can hear. I hope this inspires other people to greatness. I think, I don't think being successful or being the best version of you is a bad thing. I think it's great. I think everyone should take pride in themselves, self-pride, have pride in your appearance, your weight, how you look, your home, everything. You don't have to have, $1 billion. If you have a small
Mm.
home, as long as it's clean and there's love in it and there's beautiful things, you can cut some flowers outside or some leaves and have a pretty something, a candle. I mean, it's all about just having, taking pride in what you have and how you make people feel. I think that's probably one of my superpowers, is that I can make people feel really nice and happy. And I think you can go through life and no one's going to remember, oh, she cleaned her house every day, but when people come into my house, how they feel, like it smells good, there's something cooking, or there's a candle lit, or people, it's just really important to make people feel comfortable and nice, I think.
Mm. So I know your time is valuable. Just a couple more questions before we get our
Of
final show
course.
segment.
Hmm.
But I would really love, what would be your best advice that you could give someone who's just starting out on their leadership journey?
To ask questions, to ask other people
Mm.
for their advice. I've been really blessed, to speak with, Condeleeza Rice,
Well,
Dana Perino. I mean, all these extraordinary people, Maria Barlomo, different athletes. I've been really blessed. People really want to help others. And just, asking someone a question. Don't be think that someone's so important or so busy that you can't ask for some advice or their knowledge. I think it's really the greatest thing you can do is ask for help, because
mm,
people, like, I know when people call me and ask advice or want, some guidance, I'm more than happy to help. I just think it's part of when you're successful in whatever it is that you're doing, that you give back and you help other people, along the way. I had this amazing opportunity a couple years ago working with this teenager named Ivy. And I was doing like a pro bono, like makeup class for her. And she came over and we talked about, like, she didn't know what foundation to get or eyeshadow. And so I was just showing her. And I just said, so, like, what do you want to be when you get older? Or what are you going to do this summer? Like, what are your goals? And like, I go, you can't, dream bigger than you think, because you'd be surprised all these goals that you make. So keep raising your bar all over.
mm.
So anyway, a few weeks pass and she called and said, can I share something with you? And I said, my gosh, absolutely. She said, well, I felt so good about myself after I met with you that I applied for a study abroad art program in Prague. And she's like,
Oh,
I
wow.
got it and I'm going. And she goes, you told me that I can do anything I want. She's like, you changed my life. And I'm like, I was so shocked to hear this 15-year-old say this to me. And I just was so honored. I just thought, wow, that is like the greatest gift. She gave me the greatest gift, even though she thinks I gave her the greatest gift.
Inspiring. That's what you do. I love that. That's amazing. Final show segment. You're going to like this one. I call
I
it the Killer
can't.
Bees.
Okay.
So the same 4 questions that I ask everyone on the Tells of Leadership podcast. It's be brief, be brilliant, be present, and be gone. So if you're ready, we'll jump into the first one.
Okay, go.
All right. So what do you believe separates a good leader from a great leader?
Kindness.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think people will work really hard for you if you're kind.
I fully agree. Question 2. What is one resource that you could recommend to our listeners?
Well, the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the internet, I really don't, you and I spoke about this before. We don't really like that, but I think if you use it in a way that,
Yep.
there's so much information out there, like there's so much, and there's so many ways of connecting with different people. But I also think it's super important to connect with people, get off your device, speak to, relationships are so important, and following up, like, for example, with my clients, new clients, I always when my agent calls, I always say yes. And I always say, thank you so much for this opportunity, for this job. And I think people really appreciate that type of thing more than we realize. Following up and just saying thank you.
I don't think anyone has given that recommendation yet, and I love that recommendation. It
Yeah.
follows the model of KISS, keep it simple. That's the motto of my entire life.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, for example, yesterday, Tyler, my chef, and I, we were doing this commercial for Disc TV. And I when Tyler and I were leaving, I just said to the director, I said, "Oh, thank you so much for having us today." And he said, "You two are such a pleasure to work with. You're so positive. You guys like joke around all the time. You're super professional." And it was so, and I said, "Oh, well, thank you." Because I just think that's how everyone is. And he said, "No, everyone's not like that. And you two are really, so special because of the way of both your work ethics." So that was nice to hear.
That's awesome. I can just get that from the short interactions that we've had together, that you're a positive person. All right. Question 3. If you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my God, be kinder to myself. I beat the crap out of myself when I was younger. And to dream like bigger than I could imagine, because my life right now, like, I couldn't have imagined all these accomplishments that I've had. I would never have thought that I would have these different experiences and opportunities. So I think being kinder and dreaming bigger.
I love that too. Last question. How can our listeners find you, and how can they add value to your mission?
Well, you can go to ChristinaFlach.com to see my portfolio and different videos of segments on NBC, and then PrettyGirlMakeup.com, and Christina Flach Makeup on Instagram, and Pretty Girl Makeup is PrettyGirlMkup on Instagram. And if anyone would like to donate to the Northern Lights School in Oakland, California, go to the homepage. It's Northern Light School, I think, .org, and scroll down and there's a donate page. So if anyone would like to do that, that would be great. I could donate in honor of baby Beau or Ken Flach, and that would be great.
I will make sure that all of that is in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Christina, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
Yep.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.